Greetings, everyone. Your cartoonist pal Stan here again with another episode of Random Encounters, the show where I use random encounter tables, like the kind you find in tabletop role playing games, such as Dungeons and Dragons, and I use them together with input from folks in the live chat room and my own imagination to grab two relatively unrelated things, a who and a what, and I mash them together into a prompt that I then turn into a cartoon while you're watching. And I invite you to draw along with me. Now, you don't have to draw the same thing I'm drawing, but the whole point of this is that, drawing is fun. Cartooning is fun. It's something I do just for fun. I also do it to get paid, but, on my own free time, I'm drawing all the time because I like it so much. It's just a fun activity. So, please, grab your favorite pen and pencil, maybe a notebook, maybe some printer paper, maybe an electronic drawing implement. That's what I use. I use an iPad Pro and an Apple Pencil and the app Procreate. None of this is sponsored. I just say all that because people will often ask me, what is it you use? Now you know. No excuses there, I'm saying. Hello, Michael Pastor. Thank you for joining in. Good to see you, my friend. Yeah, so that's what we do here. We grab some ideas, mash them together, do some drawings, and wind up with three things that otherwise wouldn't have existed. Sounds like fun. Let's do it. All right, so I'm going to grab my machine here, and I'm going to make sure it's set up correctly. And then I will switch over so you can see what I'm seeing. And that is here. This is our random encounter tables for the evening. This is what we'll be working with. I took off all of the holiday season related stuff. There were some things that for the holiday season that didn't get used. Put them away till next year. I'll be doing this again in December. We'll take another shot at it then. And I've replaced them. Excuse me. Woo! Replaced them with mostly wintry stuff. I know that the most of the continental U.S. has been hit with a really huge Arctic blast. It's not that cold here in the Pacific Northwest. It's, cold enough. Temperatures getting down into the low 30s overnight, but we're not having the absolutely frigid weather that other folks are. So you have my sympathies there. We're also not having the wildfires that Southern California is, and you have my sympathies there too. I don't really have anything on top of that. I sit here thinking maybe I should have used that as ideas for the encounter tables, but I don't know that I want to be cartooning about other people's problems while they're having them. So we'll just stick with what we got here. So I'm gonna switch on over. Oh, it's gonna give that little pause because I like to put the what do you call them, the bookmarks in the video later. So I want to have a good bookmarkable spot. So here we go. We are going to do our first drawing of the day. So we'll head on over to the randomization machine here, our electronic die roller, and we're going to roll a who, and we're going to roll a what. There we go. We're going to once, twice, and third time, and our first who is 4. 4. And our first what, once, twice, and third time is a 6. A 4 and a 6. Let's come back here, and that means we've got a Necromancer making a snow angel, or something to do with snow angels. I leave these vague so that we can interpret them. So Necromancer and Snow Angel are our first two, our who and our what. Let's see. I think what I'm going to do here, I already have our beginnings of a rough idea. I want to The Necromancer is not going to be making the snow angels. He's going to be making his necromantic pawns make the snow angels. And so we're going to have him put his hand out in kind of a big commanding view. And then over here, we'll have the snow angel shape here. Let's move this up off the bottom of the page a little. And I think it's going to be a zombie. Our Necromancer, of course, is going to need some cold weather gear, so I've got a scarf and earmuffs for him. And it's a little hard to. The idea of a snow angel, of course, is that someone will lie down and then open and close their feet and wave their arms up and down and come up with a shape, which is, kind of angel like. I don't know that I needed to explain that to everyone, but trying to get that across here. Okay. I don't really know exactly what I want our Necromancer to be wearing, but we're gonna have to somehow mix up the needs of a necromantic uh, robes and winter weather gear. And we've got a zombie here. This will be a little tricky, so I'm going to do some of this. Getting that angel shape, I'm going to get some of it by um, using blue for the line work to show the the imprints in the snow. I sometimes do that where you've seen me do it most often with fire, where I'm going to draw fire instead of drawing the lines in black, I draw the lines in red, and that lets me um, I'm sorry, I suddenly had a thought about gloves and mittens, and it derailed my conversation. That lets me do some of these line drawings and have them still uh, look like it's snow, right? It's the challenge. When you put a line in black, it it looks very solid, and you don't want the snow to look quite that solid. Beautiful fur-lined robe, says Michael. Yes, indeed. Um, Amazing choice by the recommended page. Well, Singularity, thank you for joining us, and thank you to the recommended page. Hopefully, you know what? After I've been doing this show for a couple years now. Well, we're well into the second year. I think March or May is the actual anniversary. But I recently I've been seeing it recommended more. So thankfully, maybe more people will be joining us, and I hope that you enjoy what we're doing here. Singularity, please feel free to say something in the chat, or to give suggestions, or to tell your friends, or if there are ways you think I can do it better, let me know. All right, so that's the sketch we're going to go with for our Necromancer and Snow Angel. We'll come here. And my necromancers tend to look like my friend Sean Reynolds. If you're a TTRPG player, you may be familiar with Sean K. Reynolds, um, who has been working in the industry for a while. We worked together at TSR and at Wizards of the Coast. And for some reason, every time I draw a necromancer, it looks a little bit like Sean. It's not intentional, but I have noticed it happen enough that I know that it's something about the bald, uh, thin uh, body type that I do for the Necromancers has a Sean Reynolds look to it. And, there have been several thin, uh, shaven headed people associated with TSR and Wizards over the years. Chris Perkins, um, Colin McComb, and Sean Reynolds. So it's not that unusual, but for some reason, well, I mean, they all have their own individual. You wouldn't miss, except for the fact that they have similar body types and shave their heads. They don't look especially alike. Once you know them, you wouldn't mistake them for each other. I understand how strangers might. And yet, somehow, when I do these drawings, as I say, when I do a Necromancer drawing, it winds up looking like Sean, not like one of the other two. And I'm kind of at a loss to explain exactly why. It doesn't matter, but it's a truism. I've come to know it about my art. All right, so here we go, and our zombie. Is here, just lying down in the snow. And what I'm going to have happen here is one of his arms come flying off. That's what's going on there. In the whole waving his arms around thing, one of them came off. Because, he's a zombie. And our Necromancer is not very pleased with that. This perspective here, trying to get the idea of the um, snow angels are pretty easy to draw if you're looking top down at them, right? What I did that little sketch before is definitely a top down look, and then we see the snow angel around it. But we're now rotating it up on the hill here, and it's got a little bit of a challenge in the perspective angle. But as I always say, you don't have to get it 100% right, right? Particularly if you're going to do the drawing yourself, don't worry about getting it 100% right. I'm sure not. Got to get it just right enough. Identify the challenge. So yeah, so that's what I'm doing. I'm identifying the challenge. The challenge here was this whole getting the perspective correct. Being able to get something like a top-down view, or at least a partially top-down view. What I need here is I need a little pop. I need a little pop action icon to show that the arm is flown off. And now I'm going to turn off the sketch layer and look at this. And we can't see the snow angel. Remember I was saying I don't want to show it entirely. I'm going to switch, but we do need to see it. And if we look here, there we can see the snow angel that he's making. If I turn the sketch off, we need to see something of it, but I don't want to do it in black lines. So I'm going to do that on the color layer. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to, that's about the color we're going to use. So what I'm going to do is the same color that we're going to use for doing the shading, the shadows on the snow. I'm going to use that. Probably having a hard time seeing that, but there's a drawing that in the blue lines here. And that is going to be the shape of the angels. Now if I turn this off, you can see that you can see this. And I think I'm looking at it now and I'm seeing that there are a couple of problems with it. One is I need it to come along the bottom of the foot there. The other is it actually does need to be darker than that. So I'm going to pick a different color. And here's a tech thing again. So now I've drawn these lines. I don't want to have to redraw them again. I like where the lines are. They're just not the color I want. So on this layer, I'm going to use Alpha Lock. You know, this will be called different things on different apps, but on Procreate it's called Alpha Lock. And what that means is now I can only draw where I've already drawn on that layer. So if I take this other color and I can just scribble and color over it, and it will only fill in the places where I had filled in before. Another way I can do this, since I've alpha locked it, is I can fill this layer. What fill means it's going to cover the entire layer. But since alpha lock is turned on, it's only going to cover the area where I had drawn previously. So I can fool around a little bit and try this several times to get the color I want. I think that's it. All right. So now I'm going to turn off the alpha lock, because if I leave it on, I can't draw anything else on this layer. But now that it's turned off, here we go. And I'm going to use it to put some texture on the snow and make it seem snowy. There we go. And now, since we're on the color layer, I can finish doing the rest of the coloring. So we're going to come here. I'm going to give our Necromancer is going to have also very pale skin. In fact, so pale that I'm going to leave it white too. And I'm going to use a purplish for the shadow. Maybe, you know what? No, I'm not. And I'll tell you why I'm not. Because in a world where we got snow, whoa, hey now, what's going on with that? For some reason, let's turn that off. Is that better? No? I don't know why that happened. Tell you what, some technology, folks, I tell you, I need to adjust that. I did notice. I'm glad I noticed that as quickly as I did. All right, so stop mirroring. Now you can't see at all what I'm doing. I'm doing tech things here, but I got the iPad connected to my main machine, which I'm using to stream this, and now there we go. Okay, I've reconnected it. All right, so I was gonna say I was gonna have his skin be white with just shadow to show it, which would be one way to make it seem pale. But because we've got so much whiteness, and the white of the snow and the ice is going to be very white, I'm actually going to make his skin kind of a pale yellow. Oh, but here's the other thing. I want to switch my brushes. I want to use the gloaming brush, which I use all the time, to get that kind of crayon-y, markery feeling to the colors I'm putting in. So I'm going to use this yellowish off-white for his skin tone, and we'll use it even more kind of yellowish brown to do a little bit of highlights on it. Like that. And that's going to make him seem otherworldly. Little necromantic. Okay, and then come here. I'm going to use often say I don't use black. You use a dark blue, which acts as black. And we will use what we'd use the purple for. A dark purple are his robes. Like this. And we'll give him a gold wristlets. And what do I want to do? Another darker purple for his belt? Maybe? And how about a cheery minty green for his for his scarf and the wrap it around his feet. Because, it's cold out. We can make the earmuffs reddish and kind of a blue-gray for the strap on there. It's looking pretty good. Now for our zombie, got a green-gray for the zombie's skin. That's a little too dark. There we go. A green-gray for the zombie's skin. Again, because I'm using this gloaming brush, I'm not worrying about filling in all of the spaces. Just enough. And let's see, we'll have a brown for his pants. Maybe a different green-gray for his shirt. And we're going to also go with yellow for his eyes. Oh yes, and a darker green for his hair. I know zombies, I get why I would want to do green for their skin, because I want to show them as pale, rotting corpses. For some reason, I always also make them, no matter what they were in life, I give them green hair. And, that's all right. There's no reason why I can't do that. But the logic of it, when I think about it, I'm like, what? Why do I do that? I don't know. But it works. It certainly works. We're going to go back to a kind of a sharp red for the explosion of the hand flying off. And now I'm going to grab that blue that I used for those lines. Get a little lighter, and we're going to put some shading in there for where he's doing his snow angel. A little bit back here. Just a little bit here and there. I'm trying to think of a good a good way to or what I should have our Necromancer saying. Here we go. I'm actually liking this color better than the one I chose before, so I'm going to change those up. There he is. I'm not quite sure. What do you guys think? What is it the Necromancer is saying there? I think we'll put that in, and we'll wrap this up by giving him a little bit of a it's all the moss growing in their hair, says Michael. Yeah, that's a good reason why their hair might turn green. Let's see. I want to. First of all, I want to go back to the studio brush. Um, I think what he's going to be saying, he's just going to be saying something generic and evil. He's going to be saying, "You fool." You've ruined my snow angel. Here we go. You fool! That's appropriately evil. Let's grab that all and make it just a little bigger. You fool! You've ruined my snow angel! Man, it's tough being an evil necromancer, huh? Alright, let's the one thing I didn't do, I need to go back to the gloaming brush, is do just a little bit of extra shading. For you to just give these figures a little extra sense of three-dimensionality and texture. Not a lot, just a little. A little bit of purple there. And what else are we going to do? We're going to grab the golden color, go darker, and the green from the need to be darken that from the scarf and the wrap, the foot wrap. Just a little bit there, right at the bottom or where two parts of it meet. Just a little bit. I often will say I'm doing this in my digital version, but this is the kind of thing that you can add when you're drawing or coloring with crayons or markers on paper. Just this little bit of go back and push it a little harder, or take a slightly darker version. Add these little bits. You don't have to be too particular about them. You don't have to really understand uh, sketching and shading and shadows. Just add a couple, and the thing is, what you're trying to do is give your person viewing it, your viewers, eye and brain something to think about. All right, there we go. I think now I'll come back and I will go back to the lines layer, and I'm going to put my little stand in the corner, and we have ourselves a necromancer making a snow angel. Ba da ba ba doop boop. Okay. So how are you doing, Michael, and anyone else that's in the chat? How are you all doing? How's the New Year treating you so far? We're a full week into 2025, and so far, knock on plywood, nothing has exploded in my life. I mean, a lot of things have exploded. You know, I was saying at the beginning, if you're living in Southern California, the first week of the year has been a pretty horrible year. And if you're in the East Coast where the temperature's been terrible, not a great year either. So, I guess what I'm saying is I've been lucky. I personally have been lucky, and I'm thankful for that. Hello, Chris Andro. Thank you for joining us. All right, that's good. Let's wrap this up and move on to a second drawing. Well, I mean, it's wrapped up. Let me take one more sip, and then we can go on and do a second one. I got to turn off round 1 and turn on round 2. Got to turn back on the encounter tables. Wipe my mouth. because I want to be don't want to be slurping while I'm doing this. Although I just was. I guess once you're behind the curtain, I let my hair down. What little of it I have. Okay. Finished the first drawing. Let's go do another. So we're gonna head back to the random encounter, the random die generator. We're gonna get two more numbers. We're gonna twice. Come on, once, roll a bunch, and 5. 5 is our next 2, and 4. 4 is our next what? So we'll come back here and we'll see that means we've got an Umber Hulk shoveling. Okay. Predictions. Michael predicted 5 and 1. You got the 5 right. 5 and 4. Umber Hulk shoveling. So let's. Oh, didn't want to do that. I want to come over here and turn that off, and we can come back and do some sketching. So for those of you who are not D&D aficionados, who are not used to this, Umber Hulk is a large hulking insectoid creature. We'll do a very quick sketch up here. They look different from edition to edition. My favorite version has kind of a big head with mandibles and big forearms. In fact, reach down to the ground. Again, want it to look hulking, and then kind of long, spindly hind legs. The main thing about them in the head, though, every instance is that they've got two sets of eyes. They've got big bug eyes and closer set together, more humanoid eyes. And I give them antennae. And they're big, they're threatening, they're strong, and in a D&D sense, thing that they do is cause confusion. That's one of their special powers. Not that usually comes into a drawing of them shoveling, or the drawings we do here, whatever we have them doing, but sometimes that's the joke we put on. Alright, so in this case, I'm going to want a big Umber Hulk. And he's got his big arms. He's got a shovel. And then we're going to have snow. Suppose if I was going to think about this as more than a single panel drawing, or a more complicated single panel drawing, I might want it to be overhead, and we could see that he was shoveling in a weird pattern because he was confused, and make a joke about that. But I don't think that I have the patience to do that here. I think we're just going to have him shovel normally. And I don't know that there's actually a gag in this one. I think it's just going to be an Umber Hulk shoveling. So here I've done something weird. I don't know if you can see. I've got our Umber Hulk here, but for some reason, I've drawn snow like he's walked up to this part, and he's just going to start shoveling here. Maybe that's the confused part. And never need to explain it. It's just, maybe, those of you who are here watching with me, maybe you're the only ones who will understand why this is happening. The tablet disconnected again. Look at that. All this drawing. Thank you for pointing that out, Michael, because this time I wasn't noticing. Did it again. Let me see what I have got here. Why Why did that happen? Look! Oh, double me! Then I disconnect the tablet, and suddenly I take over both cameras. All right, let's see. I don't. You know what? I got to figure out why these weird problems are happening. I'm having lots of weird issues with the. There it is. It's back. Okay. Um, I have recently been having more and more weird issues with the connection, and I don't know if it's a problem with my Wi-Fi or a problem with uh, the iPad, which is beginning to be, 5 and 6 years old, which is late in uh, its lifetime. I think, I mean, as I say, for me, the question here is he's walking out here and he's just starting to shovel. Why? Because he's confused. And I don't think that that's a joke that's going to come off very well. Um, if you aren't here, I think that's kind of a had to be there joke. But you guys are here. So there we go. That's the joke. That's enough sketching, I think. I've got what I need there. So we'll go to the line work, and we're going to draw ourselves this Umber Hulk shoveling. And I always say start with a line you're confident in. Weirdly, the confidence right now is on those mandibles. And the reason for that is that they are the anchor point for this head. And around it, the body that goes around it. So if I get those in a spot that I'm happy with, then everything else can work around them. Go there. Let's. There we go. And now I want that insectoid chitinous armor feeling for many of the parts of the Umber Hulk. Umber Hulks are one of my favorite D&D monsters. They are, kind of specific to D&D. You've got lots of elves and goblins and other things that exist in all other sorts of fantasy worlds. Umber Hulk is just a D&D thing. And there really isn't a history of this creature. I suppose if there was going to be a caption for this, I would put another creature on here, a little kobold or something, or gnome, just kind of standing there saying, "Why the heck did you come out here to start shoveling?" Oh, wow, everything is getting weird. I am not crazy about the fact that this. Hmm. Hmm. I. For some reason, Procreate just quit out twice on me in the middle of this. Tell you what, I'm beginning to think that what I thought was a uh, an optional purchase of an upgraded iPad may be getting ready to be an important purchase, and it's also sadly something that's not in my budget at the moment. So, gotta figure that out. I wonder if I can do a fundraiser somehow. Buy Stan a new iPad. It really, again, because it is an important and a necessary piece of equipment, it doesn't seem like the kind of thing that should be. Um, it's not it doesn't feel, and it really doesn't feel like an emergency. I see, a lot of people I know are doing fundraisers to try and pay for things like medical debt and people whose houses are just burning down. This is not that situation, but if this machine is going to start acting funky, I need to replace it. I'm going to have to find a way to make that happen. Oh, not loving that. I'm doing just the barest outline of these trees so we can get an idea for just that this is out in the wilderness somewhere. I don't want to put too much detail in them because they're not the point of this drawing at all. But having them there does add an extra um, it really helps take it to an extra level of communicating what's going on. All right. Still, why is the Umber Hulk digging out in the middle of the wilderness? It's confused. It's just confused. All right, let's turn off the sketch layer and see how we're looking lines wise. I think I want to add a few extra in here just to make sure that it's clear. But by and large, this is looking pretty good. Again, if I wanted to make a point of it, I probably could have the Umber Hulk thinking, "Why did I come out here to shovel again? I must be confused." Specifically, have him use the word confused. But I don't think we need that. Okay, let's go to the colors layer. We will slip back to our gloaming brush, and I'm going to do some coloring. The Umber Hulk, Umber being a form of brown, is the basic color for our Umber Hulk. I generally, kind of like I do with armor, for the Umber Hulk, I take these big carapace pieces, the big armory sections, the chest and the hand gauntlets and the bottoms of the legs and the head, and I make them the same color. And then the arms, I make a different color. The bendy parts, and as I say, like I do with armor, I'm making the color. I'm choosing the color based on the flexibility or solidness of the parts of the body. And let's see, we want to have the shovel. No, I was going to do blue for the shovel, but blue is going to be the color I'm using to highlight the snow. So I want to make the shovel red. All right, let's see. Is this a good color? No. Trying to find the right color for doing the snow. Something that's blue. So often we'll talk about the fact that, there we go. When you're doing shading like this or doing coloring of any sort, if you want something to be white, and you have many things that are white or off-white, the way to separate them, the way to get a feeling across about them is what color you use to do the shading. If I were to do a more gray blue, it would look a little dirtier. The more bright blue, the cleaner the snow looks. Kind of torn on this drawing in that I think that it's working out the way I want it to, but I don't think the gag is really. Uh, I'm more worried than I thought I was going to be about the fact that this just doesn't seems more nonsensical than anything else, and that's not bad. But we did have a reason, kind of. All right. So once again, going to do a slightly darker version, and I'm going to put a little bit of shading at the edge, the bottoms and the edges where things meet, just to help to give this a little extra sense of three-dimensionality and texture. Maybe for the shovel, we don't really need a lot of it, particularly in this snowy wasteland. We don't want a lot of that. The trees, maybe. Not a lot, because we already didn't put a lot of detail on them. Just a little. Just this hint that there's some shadows and shading going on. There we go. And we've got ourselves a We got ourselves a Umber Hulk shoveling in the middle of nowhere for no apparent reason. Oh, also the yellow, the orange and the yellow on the eyes. There we go. See how just all I did there was put a little smudge like that. But it sells the idea that there's more going on there. And so the viewer's brain, hopefully your brain looked at that and said, "Oh, yes, well now that looks more like a curved eye with details on it." All I did was double smudge. Your goal when you're drawing is to fool your viewer's brain into doing what you want it to. You want their brain to do the work for you. I'm just looking at this now, and we've got ourselves an Umber Hulk shoveling in the middle of nowhere for no reason. I anticipate that people will ask me questions about this on my social media feeds. And that's all right. Okay, we're going to come back to our lines layer and put a stand on it because our drawing of an Umber Hulk shoveling is pretty much done. Sadly, frostbite is the Umber one cause of death. Oh goodness. Oh, Chris. That's a good pun. That's a terrible pun. I know, I left my cave around here somewhere. Oh dear. Umber Hulk shoveling. It doesn't need to make sense. It's an Umber Hulk. All right, I'm gonna have one more sip, and then we'll do one more, and hopefully it'll be um, more comprehensible, shall we say? All right, we're going to close that out. We're going to open up round 3, turn on round 3, turn back on the encounter tables. It doesn't need, yeah, it doesn't need to make sense. It's an Umber Hulk. That's true. It's true. I said it. It must be true. Okay. We've done an Umber Hulk shoveling. As Michael Pastor points out, I said earlier, it doesn't need to make sense. It's an Umber Hulk. Who did an Umber Hulk shoveling? We did a Necromancer making snow angels, and we're going to do one more. So let's go back and come to our die roller and roll it one more time. There we go. We're going to roll it a bunch of times there, and I think that we're all right. We got 4s and 5s and 1s because we did a Necromancer and we did an Umber Hulk. So I guess what we've got is a beholder watching football, which is a very wintry thing to do here in the U.S. 6 and 1 was a prediction. Nope. 1 and 5 is the solution. So let's come back here and come to our lines layer, and we're going to draw a beholder watching football. Sketch layer. Round 3. Okay, we're good. I guess one of the things we can figure out here is what team is the beholder rooting for. Any of you folks out there, big football fans? It might be funny if the Umber Hulk's eye stalks were rooting for different teams. In fact, maybe that's a joke. I kind of like that joke. All right, so let's see. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We don't have to show all of the eye stalks. Right? Beholders have 10 eye stalks. We don't have to show all of them. We just can't show more than 10. I often have this debate uh, with uh, with other artists and occasionally with uh, art directors. Right? As long as the angle makes it believable that there might be eye stalks that you can't see right now, we can very reasonably claim that this beholder has 10 eye stalks, even though we're only seeing 7 of them. Because the others are going to be on the far side of the head. We just can't have more than 10. I kind of hate it when you see a drawing of a beholder at an angle like this and they force you to see all 10 of the eye stalks. It just doesn't make any sense to me. All right, so we got eye stalks. At least one of them is going to be wearing a cheese wedge. It's wearing a cheese head on his hat, and the other one clearly is going to. I'm not. I'm trying to remember for sure who's in the playoffs this year. I know that the. I don't think the Bears are, so this would have to be a Viking. So this will be purple. That hat. And this one will be green. That'll be the Eagles. We have the little wings on that hat. Uh, this guy here. Who else is in the playoffs? Oh, the Chiefs. The Chiefs. Trying to. Maybe we'll just say KC, and that'll be red. Because I can't think of an easily drawable Chief emblem that's not one of the old fashioned, culturally inappropriate ones. Who else? Who else in the playoffs? The Ravens and the Steelers, I know, are. I've got friends who are Steeler fans. trying to remember this. I have to look this up. Pardon me while I go to my computer. I usually don't do this. I don't worry about that. Here we go. All right. The Steelers have the yellow, red, and blue diamonds on their thing. Yellow, red, blue. And this guy over here will be the Ravens. Okay. There we go. I suppose I can get rid of all of the rest of this. Right, the TV and the other thing. The beholder itself is going to be the gag. So let's blow that up. And I think down here is going to be saying something about, for God's sake, just figure out who we're rooting. Who are we rooting for? Something like that is going to be our caption. But let's do the drawing first. So come in here, get ready, and we're going to draw ourselves a beholder getting ready to watch some football. I don't know how much of this was getting to be clear to you, but there we go. Now I've got to set that main eye off center. I want him to it clear that he's looking up at his own eye stalks and not away at something else. When that was centered, he could have been looking at a number of things. All right, let's see. If I do this, will it fill in? No, I've got to close off those lines. There we go, there we go. Okay, good. Liking how that's looking so far. That's looking okay. I've stopped talking. That's not good. Bad radio. Bad radio. Are you guys at all football watchers or sports fans? I am one of those weird nerds who's also really likes sports. I don't watch. Oh, that's what I can do here for the Vikings is instead of giving him a regular hat, I can give him a hat with big horns on it. and it can be purple. Yeah, I don't. You know what? I don't watch a lot of uh, football in particular, but I do keep up on it. Right, the NFL on their YouTube channel gives these really good 10 to 15 minute summary videos of all of the games, and so I keep up on what's happening all season. I can speak intelligibly about what's happening in the football world without actually having seen an entire game all all season long. And same with baseball. In fact, it's allowed me to stay very much in contact with my beloved New York Mets. I'm much more of a baseball person than a football person, and watch the results of each game. Like I watched the review of all 162 games this season, as disappointing as that was, and their playoff run, as uh, unfortunately as that ended. But most of my gamer friends are not sports people. So this topic seems to be one that is not going to speak to the biggest majority of gamers. That's all right. All right. That's looking good. And then I'm putting these lines in when really color would be a better way. The eyeball in particular, color would be a better way to get those details in. All right, looking good. And he's going to be saying one of my favorite fake swears for Paylor's sake. That's not lining up right. He's going to be saying for Paylor's sake. Dot dot dot. Who are we rooting for? And then, having written that, I'm going to grab it and move it around. You know what? I'm going to wait till I finish coloring and then grab it and move it around. Okay, so turn off the sketch. Look at that. That's looking pretty good. Probably a little extra drawing I want to do in here. Just to make sure that it's all clear and we have the nice line communication that we want. We being me, of course. Um, Michael says college football is more exciting if you ask me. You know what? I feel that way about college basketball. College football, when you get teams that are relatively evenly matched, I agree with you. But too often, college football, you wind up with really good teams beating up on really mediocre teams, and most of the college games are terrible. The best ones, I think you're right, are probably better than the NFL games, but on average, I don't know that I'd agree with that. Let's say I think it's true about basketball for sure. I would much rather watch college basketball than um, professional basketball, than NBA basketball. Much. I would much rather. Much. Did I say much? Much. All right, here we go. We're going to color these. We're going to have the green skinned beholder, as I generally do. And again, we're seeing that shape within the shape. I'm identifying the shapes within. You can think of the beholder just as one big ball, but if it's going to have muscles and things like the mouth stretching and the brow, the furrowed brow, there have to be shapes within that shape, and the cheekbones, the jowls. And this is a place where, especially, doing that shape within the shape is helping to accentuate that three dimensionality. Not so much texture, but three dimensionality. Then each of the eye stalks on its own. Guess that one eye stalk in the back is the one that doesn't like football. Okay, and then we're going to go to purple. For the tongue. And I'm going to want to do yellowish on those eyes. Okay. Now, let's see. We had green. For the eagles there. Kind of an off blue for there. Maybe we're going to have purple for the Vikings. Minnesota Vikings. We're going to have a yellow for the Cheesehead for the Packers fans. We're going to come back to a red for the Chiefs. And we're going to go with the off blue black plus, what were those colors again? They were, no, that's not what I wanted to hit. They were yellow, red, and blue. Okay. So yellow. Yellow, red, and blue for the Steelers. And another purple, different purple, for the Ravens. And now we'll come in and do a little shading to heighten all that up. Starting with the beholder itself. Nope, here we go. Same problem cropping up again. You ever have one of those evenings? I think I'm having one right now. Deep breath. Deep breath. Keep squinting out there. All right. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this off screen for a second. Bring it back to just me. If anything you guys want to talk about, you can drop it in the chat there, because I am going to reboot my iPad for a second here. And that'll take a second or two. So what else should I talk about? We've got the Wednesday show is going good. Just had a nice show last night, and it continues to roll along. I'm a little behind in my drawings for that show. I over the holiday season, I kept doing the show, and I kept doing during the show. Should I tell you about the show? The show is 50 Years in the Dungeon. I do an interview with someone who has worked on in the game industry on Dungeons and Dragons, and while I'm talking to them, I do a really an a drawing, a cartoon homage to a classic piece of D&D art. And while that's happening, or I do that, I don't finish it during the show. I get usually done with the sketch phase. Over the course of an hour, hour and 15 minutes of chatting with this person, I do the drawing, and I get done with the sketch phase, and then I finish it up off screen. And the folks who are subscribers to our free newsletter, suddenly I'm pitching my newsletter, get to see it first, but then I release it to the public later on. Yeah, so that's how that works. And however, in December, because of how busy things were, I didn't finish up. I don't think I actually finished up any of the art in December. It's all in its sketchy form. Which, if the iPad is working, let's see what happens when we come back here. If the iPad is working again, there we go. We're back. I can show you. In fact, let me do that. In the 50 Years in the Dungeon, you can see here along the top all those half-finished ones. These are the ones that are not done yet. This is the one from last night. That's how far I got in about an hour doing the sketch. All of these are what I finished in an hour sketching while chatting. Right? Come back here, you can see. So, and then it usually takes me another hour. Here, this is the last one that I managed to finish up, and I just finished that up this past week. But this is the one I'm currently working on. I've done the inking on it. Haven't done any of the coloring. So that's one of my projects, is getting caught up with those. I need to find time to finish the drawings. Anyway, that's going pretty good. This whole thing, that's working well for some reason. There we go. All right, good. So yeah, that's something I've been working on, is getting caught up with those drawings. If you are a subscriber to the newsletter, and I'll put the URL up before I wrap the show. Then you get to see the finished pieces when they're done. You get updates. You get it sent to you in the email, and so you'll have something you can look at. There is a paid subscription version, which I don't push too hard. Uh, However, if you do that, you also get to see a process video of each piece as it's completed, and that's kind of fun. But it's definitely a bonus, right? Not everyone needs that, and that's why it makes a good addition to for the paid customers. I'm sure that there are people who would like to see it who don't want to pay, and I appreciate that, but gotta somehow find a way to make the art itself mostly available, but find a bonus thing that I can offer to people who do want to, you know, back up. I want to give a bonus to people who are willing to spend a little money. I don't want to deny the main thing to most people, but I want to find a way to say thank you to the people who are able to and willing to, you know, put a little in my coffers. And again, that more of that would be helpful now that it's time for me to have to start thinking more strongly about replacing my iPad. Boy, if I had more paid backers, that would be a help. Again, I'm really not trying to push for you guys to do that. I'm just sharing my thoughts with you. I also have a Patreon. Patreon.com/Stanex, as it turns out, where people signed up there. That is also the kind of stuff that goes into helping me pay for art equipment. All right, so that's done. Let's come back here. We're going to grab this. I'm going to shrink that down. What? No, I'm not. I was about to start moving everything around, and that was a bad idea. All right, so we'll just move this over here. A little bit further away, a little larger. Oh, here we go again. I think that I want tonight to wrap up. Just one of those evenings. For Paylor's sake, who are we rooting for? Now, just add some motion lines to show that our beholder is floating in midair like he should be. And we can stick a stand in the bottom. And before it has time to quit out on us again, we would say we've done it. We have our beholder rooting for watching the football. Well, I guess he's not watching football technically, but you know, NFL playoffs. Wow. Um. So, uh, let's let's say Michael says a book with all those drawings and excerpts would be a neat project. I'll tell you what. Uh, when I wrap up, which is just going to be in a couple of months, I'm going to start thinking about what form that might take. Certainly, I'm going to put together a book that will collect the art from that 50 years show. The trouble is that, well, not the trouble. The challenge is that in order to ethically use the interviews, I need to get permission from the people I interviewed. Um, so I'm working with a friend of mine to draw up a release form that I'm going to be sending around to the folks that I've interviewed and the folks I'll be interviewing in the future to get their permission to do that with it. Until then, it really it's uh, I think legally I could, as I say, ethically I shouldn't make a book with their that features so prominently what they said without their permission. Now it's a public interview, so I say legally this is they've said it publicly. It's out there. It can be quoted. It's like it's like an article, but with no agreement in place. What they agreed to was to be interviewed, not to have their quotes reproduced in a book. So there you go. All right. Have a little sip. We'll wrap this up. Also a little cough. One more time. We had a little bit of technical trouble in the middle, but we got it done. We have 3 drawings we did tonight, and it's been a fun night. Our third one here is a beholder watching football. This was a prompt. It's more like rooting for football because he's not actually watching a game, but we can work with that. Our other one was an Umber Hulk shoveling, which is also a little weird and confusing because he's shoveling in the middle of nowhere for no reason, but he's an Umber Hulk. He's confused. And we started off with a Necromancer making snow angels. So we've got some 3 pretty good cartoons. I think all of those have something in them that's worth coming back to and exploring later. I think you may see parts of these showing up in something I do maybe either later this winter or next winter. I very often go back to what I drew the previous year to look for ideas to develop. So, there you go. Come out here, pull it back. Had Michael Pastor and Chris Andro, of course, my usual supporters here. Thank you very much for showing up. Had a good time. We had a new fellow, a Singularity of Idiocy. If you are still here, thank you for tuning in. If you come back and watch and make it this far, thank you for coming back. Everyone else who's been watching and just hanging out, I appreciate having you here. And if you think of it, go on and give me a like. I often forget to do this, but it's important. The person, I was going to say gentleman. I don't know if it's a man or a woman or what. Non-specific gender doesn't matter. Singularity of Idiocy joined us because the recommendation page recommended this show, which is great. The way to get more of that to happen, leading to it, is for you guys to hit the like button. Some more interactions that the people who are watching give this. Whether you're watching live or watching on replay, give it a like. Really appreciate that. Leave a comment below. Those of you who are here, certainly I like that. After this goes up, if you just leave a little post, I don't know, wow, that was a fun show, or boy, Stan, I can't wait till next week. Just a few words that's candy to the algorithm, and it helps get the show recommended for more people. So please give me a like, give me a comment. I thank you. I thank you from the bottom of my little Stanish heart. I will be back next week, of course, with more random encounters, more improv cartooning for your fun. In the meanwhile, I hope you sometime this week pull out your drawing implements and you draw just for the fun of it. Maybe make up your own random encounter tables and do it. from something out of whatever book you're reading or whatever is going on in your life. Just put them together, roll some dice, and have some fun. Draw some stuff. Have a good time. Till then, please, take care. I'll see you soon.